Bible in a Year, January 18 or Day 18, Genesis chapter 37, verse 1 through chapter 38, verse 30. Meanwhile, Jacob had settled down where his father had lived, the land of Canaan. This is the story of Jacob. The story continues with Joseph, 17 years old at the time, helping out his brothers and herding the flocks. These were his half-brothers, actually, the son of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought his father bad reports on them. Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was the child of his old age, and he made him an elaborately embroidered coat. When his brothers realized that their father loved him more than them, they grew to hate him. They wouldn't even speak to him. Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said, "Listen to the dream I had. We were all out in the field, gathering bundles of wheat. All of a sudden, my bundle stood straight up, and your bundle circled around it and bowed down to mine." His brother said, "So? You're going to rule us? You're going to boss us around?" And they hated him more than ever because of his dreams and the way he talked. He had another dream and told this one also to his brothers. "I dreamed another dream. The sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me." When he told it to his father and brothers, his father reprimanded him. "What's with all this dreaming? Am I and your mother and your brothers all supposed to bow down to you?" Now his brothers were really jealous, but his father brooded over the whole business. His brothers had gone off to Shechem, where they were pasturing their father's flocks. Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are with flocks in Shechem. Come, I want to send you to them." Joseph said, "I'm ready." He said, "Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are doing, and bring me back a report." He sent him off from the valley of Hebron to Shechem. A man met him as he was wandering through the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" "I'm trying to find my brothers. Do you have any idea where they're grazing their flocks?" The man said, "They've left here, but I overheard them saying, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph took off, tracked his brothers down, and found them in Dothan. They spotted him off in the distance. By the time he got to them, they had cooked up a plot to kill him. The brothers were saying, "Here comes that dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him into one of the old cisterns. We can say that a vicious animal ate him up. We'll see what his dreams amount to." Reuben heard the brothers talking and intervened to save him. "We're not going to kill him. No murder. Go ahead and throw him in the cistern out here in the wild, but don't hurt him." Reuben planned to go back later and get him out and take him back to his father. But Joseph reached his brothers. They ripped off the fancy coat he was wearing, grabbed him, threw him into a cistern. The cistern was dry. There wasn't any water in it. Then they sat down to eat their supper. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites on their way from Gilead, their camels loaded with spices, ointments, perfumes to sell in Egypt. Judah said, "Brothers, what are we going to get out of killing our brother and concealing the evidence? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. But let's not kill him. He is, after all, our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. By this time, the Midianite traders were passing by. His brothers pulled Joseph out of the cistern and sold him for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took Joseph with them down to Egypt. Later, Reuben came back and went to the cistern. No Joseph! He ripped his clothes in despair. Beside himself, he went to his brothers. "The boy's gone. What am I going to do?" They took Joseph's coat, butchered a goat, and dipped the coat in the blood. They took the fancy coat back to their father and said, "We found this. Look it over. Do you think this is your son's coat?" He recognized it at once. My son's coat, a wild animal has eaten him. Joseph's torn limb from limb. Jacob tore his clothes in grief, dressed in rough burlap, and mourned his son a long, long time. His sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused their comfort. I'll go to the grave mourning my son. Oh, how his father wept for him. In Egypt, the Midianites sold Joseph to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, manager of his household affairs. About that time, Judah separated from his brothers and went to stay with a man in Adullam named Hurrah. While there, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite named Shua. He married her. They went to bed. She became pregnant and had a son named She got pregnant again and had a son named Onan. She had still another son. She named this one Shelah. They were living at Curzbeb when she had him. Judah got a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, grievously offended God, and God took his life. So Judah told Onan, go and sleep with your brother's widow. It's the duty of a brother-in-law to keep your brother's line alive. But Onan knew that the child wouldn't be his, so whenever he slept with his brother's widow, he spilled his semen on the ground, so he wouldn't produce a child for his brother. God was much offended by what he did, and also took his life. So Judah stepped in and told his daughter-in-law Tamar, live as a widow at home with your father until my son Shelah grows up. He was worried that Shelah would also end up dead, just like his brothers. So Tamar went to live with her father. Time passed. Judah's wife, Shiu's daughter, died. When the time of mourning was over, Judah, with his friend Hurrah of Adullam, went to Timnah for the shepherd and shearing. The shepherds didn't get a haircut, but the sheep did. Tamar was told, your father-in-law has gone to Timnah to shear his sheep. She took off her widow's clothes, put on a veil to disguise herself, and sat at the entrance to Enmah, where she would be on the road to Timnah as well. She realized by now that even though Shelah was grown up, she wasn't going to be married to him. Judah saw her and assumed she was a prostitute, since she had veiled her face. He left the road and went over to her. He said, let me sleep with you. He had no idea she was his daughter-in-law. She said, what will you pay me? I'll send you, he said, a kid goat from the flock. She said, not unless you give me a pledge until you send it. So what would you want in the way of a pledge? She said, your personal seal and cord and the staff you carry. He handed them over to her and slept with her, and she got pregnant. She then left and went home. She removed her veil and put on her widow's clothes back on. Judah sent the kid goat by his friend from Adullam to recover the pledge from the woman, but he couldn't find her. He asked the men of that place, where's the prostitute that used to sit by the road here, near Enam? They said, there's never been a prostitute here. He went back to Judah and said, I couldn't find her. The men there said there'd never been a prostitute. Judah said, let her have it then. If we keep looking, everyone will be poking fun at us. I kept my part of the bargain. I sent the kid goat, but you couldn't find her. 3 months or so later, Judah was told, your daughter-in-law has been playing the whore, and now she's pregnant whore. Judah yelled, get her out here and burn her up. As they brought her out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. I'm pregnant by the man who owns these things. Identify them, please. Who's the owner of the seal and cord and staff? Judah saw they were his. He said, She's in the right. I'm in the wrong. I wouldn't let her marry my son, Shelah. He never slept with her again. When her time came to give birth, it turned out that there were twins in her womb. As she was giving birth, one put his hand out. The midwife tied a red thread on his hand, saying, This one came first. But then he pulled it back, and his brother came out. She said, Oh, a breakout. So she named him Perez, breakout. Then his brother came out with the red thread on his hand. They named him Zerah, bright. Matthew chapter 12, verse 22 through verse 45. Next, a poor demon-afflicted wretch, both blind and deaf, was set down before him. Jesus healed him, gave him his sight and hearing. The people who saw it were impressed. This has to be the Son of David. But the Pharisees, when they heard the report, were cynical. Black magic, they said. Some devil trick he's pulled from his sleeve. Jesus confronted their slander. A judge who gives opposite verdicts on the same person cancels himself out. A family that's in a constant squabble disintegrates. If Satan banishes Satan, is there any Satan left? If you're slinging devil mud at me, calling me a devil, kicking out devils, doesn't the same mud stick to your own excursus? But if it's God's power that I am sending the evil spirits packing, then God's kingdom is here for sure. How in the world do you think it's possible in broad daylight to enter the house of an awake, able-bodied man and walk off with his possessions unless you tie him up first? Tie him up, though, and you can clean him out. This is war, and there is no neutral ground. If you're not on my side, you're the enemy. If you're not helping, you're making things worse. There's nothing done nor said that can't be forgiven. But if you deliberately persist in your slanders against God's Spirit, you repudiating the very one who forgives. If you reject the Son of Man out of some misunderstanding, the Holy Spirit can forgive you. But when you reject the Holy Spirit, you're sawing off the branch on which you're sitting, severing by your own perversity all connections with the one who forgives. If you grow a healthy tree, you'll pick healthy fruit. But if you grow a diseased tree, you'll pick worm-eaten fruit. The fruit tells you about the tree. You have minds like a snake pit. How do you suppose what you say is worth anything when you are so foul-minded? It's your heart, not the dictionary, that gives meaning to your words. A good person produces good deeds and words seasoned after season. An evil person is a blight on the orchard. Let me tell you something. Every one of these careless words is going to come back to haunt you. There will be a time of reckoning. Words are powerful. Take them seriously. Words can be your salvation. Words can also be your damnation. Later, a few religion scholars and Pharisees cornered him. Teacher, we want to see your credentials. Give us some hard evidence that God is in this. How about a miracle? Jesus said, You're looking for proof, but you're looking for the wrong kind. All you want is something to tantalize your curiosity, satisfy your lust for miracles. The only proof you're going to get is what looks like an absence of proof. Jonah evidence. Like Jonah, 3 days and nights in the fish's belly, the Son of Man will be gone 3 days and night in a deep grave. On Judgment Day, the Ninevites will stand up and give evidence that will condemn this generation, because when Jonah preached to them, they changed their lives. A far greater preacher than Jonah is here, and you squabble about proofs. On Judgment Day, the Queen of Sheba will come forward and bring evidence that will condemn this generation, because she traveled from a far corner of the earth to listen to wise Solomon. Wisdom far greater than Solomon's is right in front of you, and you quabble over evidence. When a defiling evil spirit is expelled from someone, it drifts along through the desert looking for an oasis, some unsuspecting soul it can bedevil. When it doesn't find anyone, it says, "I'll go back to my old haunt." On return, it finds the person spotlessly clean, but vacant. It then runs out, rounds up 7 other spirits more evil than itself, and they all move in, whooping it up. That person ends up far worse off than if he had never gotten cleaned up in the first place. That's what this generation is like. You may think you have cleaned out the junk from the lives and gotten ready for God, but you weren't hospitable to my kingdom message, and now all the devils are moving back in. Psalm chapter 16, verse 1 through verse 11. A David psalm. Keep me safe, O God. I've run for dear life to you. I say to God, be my Lord. Without you, nothing makes sense. These God-chosen lives all around, what splendid friends they make. Don't just go shopping for a God. Gods are not for sale. I swear I'll never treat God names like brand names. My choice is you, God, first and only, and now I find I'm your choice. You set me up with a house and yard, and then you made me your heir. The wise counsel God gives when I'm awake is confirmed by my sleeping heart. Day and night, I'll stick with God. I've got a good thing going, and I'm not letting it go. I'm happy from the inside out. And from the outside in, I'm firmly formed. You canceled my ticket to hell. That's not my destination. Now you've got my feet on a life path, all radiant from the shining of your face. Ever since you took my hand, I'm on the right way. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 30 through verse 32. Don't walk around with a chip on your shoulder, always spoiling and looking for a fight. Don't try to be like those who shoulder their way through life. Why be a bully? Why not, you say? Because God can't stand twisted souls. It's the straightforward who get his respect. This was a daily reading of the Message version of the Bible, read to you by Bible in a Year.